Hello guys, welcome to 4K channel. Today I'm sharing with you my collection of Mexico banknotes. I have 3 stacks here. So it's broken down in 3 sets. I have this bigger stack, which is the pre-revolutionary banknotes. These were issued by private and regional banks. And then we have the issues from the Mexican Revolution. So these are the revolutionary banknotes. And then a smaller stack here is the post-revolutionary, basically modern banknotes issued by the central bank, which is the Bank of Mexico. Okay, so we'll start with the pre-revolutionary banknotes. So Mexico gained its independence from Spain in 1810, and after that, General Porfirio Diaz was a dictator who ruled Mexico for over 30 years, from basically 1880s all the way up until 1911. And during his time, they passed the Banking Act of 1897, which allowed private and regional banks in each Mexican state to issue their own paper money. So there's about 31 states in Mexico. Each state had its own private or regional bank issuing currency, which meant there were so many different banknotes during this time, different banknotes from different states, a lot of amazing designs. These are some of the most beautiful banknotes that you can collect. Some are common, but most of them are quite rare to come by, and if you do find it, even in poor condition, they can be quite expensive. Now, these regional banknotes are considered specialized issue. What do I mean by that? Let me show you what I mean. So for world paper money, we have what's called the standard catalog of world paper money, and it has 3 volumes. These are, big, thick books. This one is about 1200 pages, and we have 3 volumes, which is standard issue, modern issue, standard or general issue, modern issue, and specialized issue. I believe the modern issue is any banknote issued after 1961. General issue is anything older than that, issued before 1961, and specialized issue is these, regional private issues that were there before there was a central bank. And this, obviously has banknotes from all different countries, not only Mexico. Give you a little idea. Unfortunately it's in black and white. Wish we had color images. That would have been really nice. But if you go to the Mexico section, there's a whole list of these private and regional banks, and then each bank issued their own currency in all different denominations, and you have just pages on pages of private banknote issues. These specialized issues in the catalog, the catalog number would start with letter S for specialized. So you might have pick number S437. So that would be their pick number. So I love specialized issue banknotes because these are usually older banknotes from private banks from different countries. They are hard to come by, quite rare, and they hold up their values. So this is your introduction to what's a specialized issue for world paper money. Just older banknotes, regional, small, private bank issue. So here's my stack. I have about 15 banknotes to show you. So let's get started. So one thing about these private banks was these banknotes were redeemable on demand, primarily in silver coins. And they were issued up until Mexican Revolution. That's when the whole monetary system collapsed. So most of these, the ones I have, are issued in early 1900s. So older banknotes, and it's amazing that they have survived this long. So let's get started. We're going to start with this banknote. This is issued by the state of Chihuahua. And if you're not familiar with Chihuahua, Chihuahua is the biggest state in the North Mexico. It's called the Texas of Mexico. It's a large state. It's the birthplace for Mexican Revolution. Most of the people here are cattle ranchers. That's why I like this vignette on this banknote. Even, you know, the small dog Chihuahua, the name of that dog comes from this state of Chihuahua. And this is the only place in Mexico where it snows a lot in winter. So this is a 10 pesos note from 1913. Pick number is S133, and it shows a guacho, or a cowboy, herding his cattle. So this is what it looks like on the back of the note. This is the Mexican coat of arms with an eagle, with a worm or a snake in his beak. So that's the first banknote. We have another banknote from the same state, the state of Chihuahua. This one is actually 100 peso, a bigger denomination, and it's one of the most beautiful banknotes in my collection. This was issued in 1913. This is pick number S136. It has the allegory of Mexico in the center. She's seated, and she has agriculture and industry on her either side. The back design is the same as the previous one, and these remind me of the gold certificate from the old United States issues. Next we have another bank, a different bank from Chihuahua. This bank is called Banco Minero, meaning miners bank, and this is a 5 peso issued in 1914. Pick number is S163A. We have allegory of justice holding her balance, and then on the other side we have allegory of plenty, Euthania. Really beautiful banknote. And then we have a cool scene of miners and a woman seated with her chest or a vault. So that's from Chihuahua, the state of Chihuahua. Next, I'm going to show you some banknotes, private banknotes issued from Mexico City. So Mexico City, as you know, is one of the largest cities in the world. It was the Aztec capital, and one fun fact is that it's sinking at the rate of about 20 inches per year, because Mexico City was built over several lakes. Now this banknote is issued by the Londrey y Mexico banknote, and it is a 20 pesos note. Pick number is S235D. It features Benito Juarez. Benito Juarez was a very famous president. He's actually known as the Abraham Lincoln of Mexico, and the reason is he came from very humble beginnings. He was a indigenous person, so it was pretty amazing that an indigenous Mexican eventually became a president. And just like Abraham Lincoln, he was very popular. In the center here, we have a portrait of a Spaniard Catholic priest. I believe his name is Bartolome de las Casas. So he is very well known, very well respected, because he was basically a human rights activist. He was a priest who was looking out for the rights of the indigenous population. The back is in brown color. So that one was from Mexico City. You have another banknote issued from Mexico City. Both of these banknotes were actually very powerful banks, because they were in Mexico City and they had national reach, meaning they would be accepted in pretty much every state because they were very well known. Some of the other smaller banknotes, you know, they were accepted in their state only, but they would have problem outside their own state. So this is the El Banco Nacional de Mexico. So this is not a national bank, but it's a regional bank, and this banknote is quite beautiful. It's a remainder banknote, no signatures, and there's a red overprint, BILLETTE SIN VALOR, meaning a bill of no value. So it's a canceled banknote. And cool thing about this banknote is this portrait here of this particular woman. So her name was Manuelita, and she was a rich woman from Pueblo. And the interesting thing is that this portrait was placed on this banknote without her consent. We have a allegory of plenty, Euthenia again, and on the back we have the bank building represented in the center. So the last two banknotes, these last two banknotes were from Mexico City. Now moving along, we have this really beautiful looking banknote from the city of Durango, or the state of Durango, Banco de Durango. So Durango is infamous for scorpions. Scorpions are literally everywhere in this state. You can find them on streets, in houses. It's also the Western movie capital of Mexico. Hundreds of Hollywood Western movies were filmed in Durango. This is a 10 pesos banknote from 1914. Pick number is S274D. It features this farming scene, and this really cool looking Cathedral of Durango. Now there's a backstory for this cathedral. One of the bell towers is haunted because the nun at that cathedral fell in love with a French soldier, and she waited for him for a long time. He apparently died, never came back, so she took her own life, allegedly by jumping off one of these bell towers, and her ghost can still be seen on a full moon night, I should say. So really cool design. Love this vignettes, overall colors of this banknote. So next one is from the state of Hidalgo. So Hidalgo is the silver capital of the world. They do a ton of silver mining. It's also famous for its barbacoa meat. So if you eat tacos, you may have heard of barbacoa meat, which is basically slow-cooked lamb. It's really delicious. Anyway, so this banknote is the 5 pesos from 1914, pick number S305D. And it's hard to show you guys, but there's a perforated cancellation on this banknote. You can see it better. AMORTIZADO, which basically means remainder. So a lot of these banknotes that I have are remainder banknotes, meaning they were not signed, they were not issued, they were printed but never put into circulation. Hence they are a little bit cheaper than the issued banknotes. This has a vignette of let's see, what is it? Yeah, this is the vignette of the Miguel Hidalgo monument, and we have some more miners on this, miners working in the mines. And on the back is the city of Pachuca city view on the back of the note. Another cool looking note. Next one here, this is also one of my favorite notes, really cool looking note. This is from Monterrey. So Monterrey is the capital city of Nuevo León. So the state name is Nuevo León, and Monterrey is the city in Nuevo León. So this is issued by the Merchants Bank of Monterrey. And Nuevo León is is I'm sorry, not Nuevo Leon, but Monterrey itself is one of the most Americanized city in Mexico. Most people speak Spanglish, which is basically a mixture of Spanish and English, and one of the wealthiest and safest city in Mexico. And it has this cool vignette. It reminds me of the Treasury notes equivalent of the U.S. banknotes, where you have generals and, with their uniform and medals. So kind of similar here. We have General um, Mariano Escobedo. So he was the man who actually captured the French Emperor Maximilian I, which basically ended the French occupation of Mexico. So he was very well regarded and revered in Mexico. And here it's really cool buildings. Actually, you can see the train tracks in the front of this building. This is basically a railroad station in Monterey. This is a specimen banknote. Has been hole punch canceled. In the back, you have a view of the Monterey city with some mountains in the background. So beautiful banknote, rare banknote, quite expensive. But I love this banknote. As I said before, these are all printed by the American Banknote Company in New York. So next we have, last banknote was from Monterey. So this banknote is the El Banco Oriental de Mexico. So this is actually issued in the state of Pueblo. So Pueblo is known for its snobbish, rude locals. Even Cinco de Mayo, the 5th of May, that's celebrated in America, actually happened in Pueblo. This is where the Mexico defeated the French army. So the beginnings of Cinco de Mayo was in Pueblo. Anyways, this is not very rare banknote, quite cheap actually. 1 pesos banknote from 1914, pick number S388B as in boy. We have a monogram here. We have Fort Loreto shown here, really cool. We have some overprints, and on the back we have the coat of arms of the bank. And actually you can see here, American Banknote Company. All right, moving along. Next banknote is from the state of Sonora, El Banco de Sonora. So Sonora is basically a desert. It's the hottest place in Mexico, and it has massive cactus forest. It shares border with Arizona, so it has a somewhat of a Tex-Mex culture. Now this is a 5 pesos banknote, 1911. You can get a lot of these Sonora banknotes, even the higher denomination, for a reasonable price. This is also a remainder banknote, no signatures, not issued. Pick number S419. Interesting thing here is there's a portrait of a girl here. She was a kid of a rich, wealthy man in Sonora. Her name is Hortensia Velez. We have a cherub in the center here, and then we have an allegory of strength. She's holding a cool sword. And a simple design on the back. So that was Sonora. Next we have the state of Tamaulipas. So this state is basically a war zone because of constant cross-border clashes between cartels, drug cartels. Considered one of the least safest states in all of Mexico. This is a beautiful, beautiful banknote. Love the vignette. This vignette has been used on many banknotes, so this is not specific to this banknote, but a lot of the vignettes on other banknotes is like cropped version of this one. You see the cattle hanging out, but then this one actually has more stuff going on, guacho and other things going on in the background here. So this particular banknote issued in 1914, pick number S430C. Love this note. Also love the banknote because on the back we have some dogs and a little canoe. So I don't have a whole lot of banknotes with dog vignette. So this one is a cool banknote. Alright guys, coming to an end almost. So this next banknote is also really cool banknote. This is from the state of Veracruz, the Merchant Bank of Veracruz. Veracruz is where the Spaniards, the Spain explorer landed, and this is how they conquered Mexico. Veracruz is a major producer of oil and coffee. This is a 10 pesos note from 1914, pick number S439S. It's a specimen note, hole punched, and then we have a portrait of Lerdo de Tejeda, Miguel Lerdo de Tejeda. I think he was one of the rich finance person, and then he actually died at a young age of 48 due to typhus. So he must be someone very important. I don't know a whole lot about him. On the back we have the port of Veracruz. Really cool scene, really cool design. Now coming to the last set of banknotes. Actually no, this is not, it's second to last actually. So these two banknotes are from the same bank. These are the Banco Peninsular Mexico. So both of these banks are from Yucatan. So Yucatan is basically a port, and Yucatan banknotes are quite hard to find in my experience, and these two I found. Actually, this one is not actually quite common, but these earlier banknotes from Yucatan are hard to find. So here, this bank took over the previous bank, which is called the Banco Yucateco. So the Banco Peninsular Mexico basically utilized the banknotes from this bank and then just did this overprint. So this banknote without the overprint is quite hard to find. And the ones with the overprints are also hard to find, especially in good condition. I love the back of the banknote. This reminds me of, you know, the large size currency from US with intricate design. This is prior to, you know, busy design. This is prior to when they started, you know, demanding more clear space so that they can identify counterfeits. So very busy and very intricately engraved banknote. And this is the later issue from the same bank, and they now are issuing their own banknote. They're no longer relying on, you know, overprints. So that was from Yucatan. Now the final banknote, the private issue banknote, the specialized issue banknote, is from Zacatecas. So Zacatecas is, you know, one of the is the place where one of the bloodiest battle of Mexican Revolution took place. It has a beautiful, you know, wide view scene of a factory in Zacatecas. You can see the smoke coming from the chimney, and then you have Francisco Salinos. Not sure what his role was in Zacatecas, and on the back we have the city view of Zacatecas. So sorry guys, I know it's kind of long video, but just really cool design. Love these specialized issue. Like I said, almost every country has their version of specialized banknotes because these were issued prior to establishment of central bank. These are usually issued by local, state, regional banks, and they are older banknotes, usually from 1900s, early 1900s or 1800s, and they can be hard to come by. They were not too many were issued, not too many survived. So, you know, I strongly suggest you looking into getting some of these specialized banknotes. So now we're gonna switch gears. So we were pre-revolutionary, now we're gonna move on to revolutionary banknotes. So what are we talking about? So what's happening so far is, General Porfirio Diaz is the dictator, and he's been ruling for 30 years, and people are just suffering under his rule. So there's a lot of discontent, and after 30 years of rule, finally in 1910, this guy here, Francisco Madero, ran for presidency against Porfirio. And what happened was, he was this new guy, Madero, was really popular. So Diaz was a president or the dictator at that time, put him in the jail and declared that he was the winner. Now this created a lot of chaos. Madero happened to finally escape, and he escaped to US, and from there he openly called for a revolution. And people heeded his call. Basically, overnight, local rebel leaders assembled their armies in pretty much every state. So there were rebel groups from different states assembling their own armies, trying to take over the presidency, take over the power, and civil war started. Now, within a year of this start of revolution, Porfirio Diaz, the dictator, he fled to Paris. He left the presidency and went to France, and he died 5 years later. His tomb is still in Paris. So once he was gone, you would expect, within a year he was already abdicated his power. You would expect, war should be over, civil war should be over. But no, the war would go on for 9 more years, a total of 10 years of revolution, where all these rebel leaders from different states are fighting each other, power hungry. And there were many leaders like Zapata, Pancho, Huerta, Carranza. They're trying to seize power. And as they're trying to do so, they need monies. And what was happening was, they would basically loot these regional and private banks. Because remember, previously the banknotes were backed by silver and gold. So these rebel leaders would then raid the banks of their silver and gold, and basically these private banks ceased to exist. And instead, now these rebel groups were starting to print their own money. This is how we got the Mexican revolutionary banknotes. So 3 banknotes I have still are pretty good looking banknotes, considering most of them were very poorly printed. They were not printed by American Banknote Company. They were locally printed on cheap paper. They were not backed by anything, and they were basically, people were forced to use them by the armies that controlled the area. And so they lost their value really fast, and they were, easy to counterfeit. So there's a huge, these banknotes are also in the specialized issue catalog, and there were so many banknotes. Each state was basically issuing their own banknotes, and they were pretty crude. There was no vignettes. These are the 3 I have that are pretty decent looking, and these revolutionary banknotes are not very expensive. So, do look into it. These 3 I have are, this one's from Chihuahua, a lot of hand stamps. This one is from Sinaloa, features Benito Juarez and Francisco Madero. Really cool vignette in the back of that note. And this is a revolutionary issue from Mexico City, and it's, revolution is printed across the banknote. This one is 100 pesos. Comes in very, this same banknote comes in different denominations. It has the same exact look. So these are my 3 Mexican Revolution banknotes. So now we're going to go into the post-revolution era. So post-revolution. So like I said, the revolution lasted for 10 years. It was really bloody. About 1 million people were killed. Even the famous rebel leaders like Pancho, Zapata were murdered, and eventually peace was restored in 1920. So the revolution lasted from 1910 to 1920, and they rewrote the Mexican Constitution. And in 1925, based on that Constitution, they established one central bank, which was now the only authority that would print and issue banknotes. So this was the Bank of Mexico. Let me show you this one. So this is really the only post-revolutionary banknote I have. I don't collect a lot of the modern banknotes, but this is my only one I have, kind of like the modern series. So this is a 10 pesos, pick number 22S. This is a specimen banknote. This is a large size banknote. They also started doing, small size after, I think, 1930s. But the large size are still so beautiful. And you have the allegory, beautiful allegory in the front here. And then the Independence Monument in Mexico City on the back. So really, really cool banknote. Now guys, I have one final banknote to share with you. This is my crown jewel. So this is the El Banco Central Mexicano Bank. So it's basically Central Mexican Bank. And don't be fooled by the name. This is not a central bank. This bank was an interbank that existed in the pre-revolutionary era. Let me explain. So this is basically what's called a bono de caja, which means cash bond. So it's not a banknote, it's a cash bond. And basically the reason why this bank existed is because the problem we had in the pre-revolutionary era, where every state was printing their own regional private banknotes, was the fact that if you were a banknote from smaller bank, you would not get accepted outside your state, especially in a big city like Mexico City. Other states' banknotes were not desirable. People didn't know how much they were valued. So what happened was this exchange bank was established. So this was an idea of a banker from Chihuahua who wanted to level the playing field. So he developed this interbank facilitator or exchange bank. So what they would do is you would bring in banknote from a smaller bank, another from in Mexico. So this would be in Mexico City. So if you went to Mexico City, you would bring in your banknote from Sonora or Chihuahua or some other smaller states, and then you would go there and they would exchange the banknote for you, and they would deal with other banks. So they were basically this kind of basically helped banks work together. So they were basically a clearinghouse, a middleman. They would take the banknote from smaller bank and give you the value in silver. So this is a huge banknote. I mean, just to compare with some of the other banknotes, just half the size. So this is a specimen banknote. Has a beautiful locomotive vignette, and also love these allegorical figures on either side. 500 pesos. Just a monster banknote. So that's it, guys. Sorry for this long video. We have seen a lot of banknotes today. I hope I have piqued your interest in old Mexican currency. So do check it out. Start looking around. There's a lot of banknotes on eBay, and you can see, what banknotes that you can afford to add to your collection. All right, guys, take it easy and keep collecting.